Welcome to Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 Ontario provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn, and joining me for the next half-hour will be the candidate running for the Green Party in the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South, Lisa Francis. So Lisa, thanks for joining me, and thank you for participating and putting your name on the ballot to run in this election against the other candidates that are in the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South. So we like to start these interviews off by getting people to know who Lisa Francis is. So I'll open up the floor to you before we go any further and get you to give us a brief bio about yourself. And you can go as long as you want. And obviously, you're trying to persuade people to vote for the Green Party. So I'll allow you the floor now, and then we'll get into other topics as the interview goes on.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to introduce myself. I am so proud to be the candidate for the Green Party representing Northumberland and Peterborough South. I'm an Ajax native. I grew up in the Quinte area, and much of my childhood was spent camping in Presqu'Isle, which is now in my backyard. I live in Brighton now. I'm very community and surrounding community. I did live in Toronto for 5 years and chose to come home to this area because this is where I wanted to raise my family. And I spent 10 years living in Stirling, north of Belleville, and I'm proud that my son got to grow up in that kind of community and have those rural roots, because I think that's really important. And so yeah, I'm a mother, and I am a quality assurance coordinator, teaching and learning coordinator at Queen's University. I've spent the past 10 years working in post-secondary education. That actually kind of opened the door for me in terms of politics a little bit. I work a lot with the ministry in the past 10 years with program submissions and things like that. And I guess what it taught me is that the government is not this thing that's way up here that, you know, we as citizens can't access. It's something that we can be involved in, and we can have a say, and we can fight for the things that we need. I'm a big believer that policy that is designed for Toronto doesn't work for people in Norwood or people in Brighton or Campbellford. And I think that we really need a voice for the other areas of Ontario. It's a really big province, and it's much larger than the GTA, which is not a step on our west boundary. In my spare time, I am an outdoor enthusiast and pretty big into fitness. A few years ago, I got into exercising and did a number of runs. I'm not currently running now, but I did do a half marathon. That was my max. My husband and I are currently getting into cycling, and I cannot wait to attack the rolling hills of Northumberland. So we're all geared up for that. And like I said, I grew up camping, kind of an outdoorsy girl. But one of my favorite things to do is to find new shops locally. We try and spend our dollars in our community as much as possible. I've been a small business owner myself, and I know that, you know, that is the foundation of our local economy, which builds the foundation for our life. And for me, I think that we need to have stronger voices from smaller places, and I think we can do that. I'm a Green Party supporter because I really believe that there is another option. This is not one or the other. There are different solutions. And I do believe that we have to get back to our roots. We have to get back to nature, and we have to restore damage that has been done. When the opportunity to run came up, I chose to put my name in the ring because I believe that we're at a tipping point. We're at a tipping point socially, economically, and environmentally. And it just felt like the right time to stand up and say, you know what, it's time for change. We've seen what other leaders can do, and I really believe in Mike, and I think that he is the leadership that we need right now. And so, yeah, that's that's why I'm here. And you know, I'd like to think that I like to think that I represent underrepresented voters. I think that everyone needs to be part of the conversation. I mean, you can complain about things or you can do things, right? But most importantly, we need a mechanism to connect with our government and to have a say and be part of the conversation. We have two really big resources in this province. One is natural resources and the other is human resources. And we need to leverage our people, and we need to listen to our people, and we need to use the resources that we have and replenish. And I mean, that is the basis of sustainability. We need to thrive.
Talking to you before the interview started, Lisa, you talked about the fact that this is your first foray into politics on your work side. Yes, you had to have been elected on your work side to sit on boards and such. But so why did you jump right in feet first into the provincial election? Sometimes people like to get their feet wet, maybe at municipal, take a run, see how it is and such. Why did you jump right into provincial politics?
Yeah, it's kind of a big jump, right? Well, the opportunity came up, and like I said, we're at a tipping point. We have to act now. We cannot afford to wait. Another 4 years of what we've got is it's not going to work out. It's not going to have a nice ending. We've got to act now.
So you talk about the Green Party, and it's certainly a party that has changed over the years. It has kept its roots of nature and such, but it certainly expanded its wings from the early days of when this party began. Is that what attracted you most to this party?
I would say that, yeah. I mean, I like different. I don't like the traditional options. I try to vote in a way that represents what I feel I need as a citizen at the time. But the Green Party has always sort of stuck out to me. I actually remember when they became a party. So it's kind of, as you said, it has evolved. And I believe this time around, we have what I think is the most comprehensive platform on all fronts. And it covers everything that we need right now.
You talked earlier in your answer of my first question about talking about your bio and who you are and such. And one of the things that stuck right out to me right off the bat, Lisa, was the fact that you see this as big city issues aren't necessarily the issues of what is happening in Northumberland-Peterborough South, where we are mostly a rural community with 2 or 3 major centers as well. So what are you hearing right now as the major issues in this riding?
I've only started to hear directly from my folks. As you know, we're on day 2. This has been a short ramp up. So what I would say is that my ear is open, and I encourage people to bring forth issues. I did have a very good interaction with somebody about some of the climate policies that the Green Party has put forward and how we would support agriculture, which is obviously a big part of our area.
You say that you said, sorry, that most of your background for work-wise has been in the educational field. Where do you see that? Would you like to see that go into the future? And give me a rating on what you've seen over the last number of years. Obviously, the last 4 under the Progressive Conservative Party, and then before that, over 10 years with the Liberal Party.
So specifically post-secondary education, what I would say is that we have what I would call a broken system. So much so that the government itself now refers to it as a publicly assisted system versus publicly funded. There's a big difference in that. And the funding that we've been able to secure and survive on has been off the backs of internet. And that is not a sustainable model, as we learned through this pandemic. I don't know that I'll give you necessarily a number rating, but it certainly has declined. The governments of the past have failed to adequately support our institutions. We have some great institutions. We have 24 great institutions in this province. And we've got quality programs, great people, great faculty. but they need to be properly supported so that we're not banking on international students.
You know, in the post-secondary education field, Lisa, you were hearing a lot of calls from the younger generation who are currently in high school that are progressing through and now getting ready for university or college life. And we're starting to hear that the cost of a post-secondary education is starting to outprice what they can afford to be able to go to get a post-secondary education. So what's the Green Party's philosophy on that, and how to sustain and allow these people that are might not be able to afford it to get the education they need?
The Green Party is proposing more of a standardized approach to tuition. So a set number, I believe it was 3,000 for domestic students and 7,000 for international students.
So do you see this as working in the field? Do you see those challenges, or have you seen those challenges working in the field currently?
Yeah, I'm an instructor as well at a college. I handle a few courses, and I have a mix of domestic and international students. And I know that those international students are paying a very high tuition rate. But from what I can tell, they're not getting a different experience than the domestic student who's paying a third of what they're paying. So it bothers me that I'm delivering the same experience to two people who are paying very, very different rates.
Let's shift focus here now, and let's talk about the riding itself. As I stated earlier, you look at communities such as Cobourg and Port Hope, which maybe are the larger centers in this, but then we also see the small villages and towns such as Campbellford, Brighton, Colburn. You know, we go all the way up into Norwood. There's a vast agricultural part of this riding as well. How do you tie everything together? Because you know, we stated earlier that you know, this isn't like a GTA riding in downtown Toronto where you go one block and you have your 100,000 constituency. You know, you're going an hour from one side to the other to get to your 100,000. So how do you bring everything together to please everybody?
I don't think you can ever please everybody. I think what you can do is listen to the people and of your riding in the different areas, and you can do your best to take that information and try and structure something that will work for the majority of people.
Lisa, we're up on break. We still have lots more to talk about, so we'll come back and continue our discussion on your vote, and to get your name out there to the constituency and to the constituents in the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South. I'm Mark Rockburn. Don't go away. We'll have more with the Green Party candidate, Lisa Francis, right after this short break. Welcome back to Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 Ontario provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn, and joining me is the Green Party candidate for the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South, Lisa Francis. So Lisa, you know, we spent a little bit of time in the first half of the interview talking about who you are, maybe some of your philosophies in life and why you're running for the Green Party, your work in post-secondary education and what you see in that field. So let's talk about, obviously, one of the things we should talk about is business as well, and small business owners. You know, we look across this riding, a lot of the businesses are small business operators. Yes, there are some larger manufacturing plants, but mostly the backbone of this riding is small businesses. And what's the Green Party's philosophy on small business and how they're going to help them going forward, especially now during this post-COVID-19 recovery?
The Green Party is going to support apprenticeship opportunities. They're going to support upskilling opportunities. And in terms of small business, we're looking at, you know, the clean economy, the green economy, and we'll definitely support innovation in that area, which I think will largely impact our area, given the agricultural side of things, as well as the small business side of things.
So Lisa, one of the things that we have discussed and one of the things that I've heard from you is it's time for change. And when you say change, it's time for change in a way in which that maybe it's no longer the regular two parties that should govern this province of Ontario. And I wanted you to expand on that and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so the Green Party, we talked about its evolution, and it's been said already, comprehensive housing plan. The Green Party is, I think, in a position to give Ontarians the Ontario that they need. And I believe that Mike has the leadership that we need to get us there.
So let's talk about your leader. He's had a seat inside the House, inside the legislature for the last 4 years. He's been able to get his voice out there. So let's continue on and talk about your leader and where you see he can take this province.
He's a very strong leader. I think that every time he speaks at the legislature, he commands respect, and he's a great speaker, and he, I think, is the kind of leader that anyone can get behind. Whether you've been a Liberal in the past or a PC in the past, I think you can get behind somebody who, stands up for what the province needs for a sustainable future.
I'd like to expand a little bit more as well on why you chose the Green Party. And you say it favors the way you live your life. And obviously that's the green life and such. So talk a little bit about more as to why you want to go, you went down the road with the Green Party.
So when I was growing up, I actually remember when recycling programs became a thing. Can you even imagine that wasn't a real thing? That wasn't that long ago. So I grew up sort of having an interest in environmental issues. And in the last, I would say probably 5 years or so, I've really taken a look at how I live my life and try and be as green as possible. So getting rid of single-use plastics, and I love that there is, I lived in a place where there wasn't a green bin program. Like all of that stuff is becoming a more normal thing. And I think, in 10 years from now, it will be, crazy to think that wasn't always the thing. So for me, trying to find things that are organic and locally sourced has been just a lifestyle for me. And I'm always thrilled when I find new farms or, new sources of interesting produce and other things around where I live. I live down the road from Cheer Farms, which is one of my favorites. I have an organic farm on the other side, just off Highway 33. And that's what we do. We sort of look in our backyard and look for these little gems of awesome resources that we have.
You talked about a number of times during our interview so far about locally sourced, trying to find things that are local within the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South. And how hard is it to find those? And, how do we, sometimes when you do find them, sometimes what people complain about is, the little extra cost because of the fact that, you're not going to a major grocery store, or you're not going to a big box store to be able to get where they bring them in mass and bring it in at lower prices.
What I would say is that what you put into your body is an investment. And if it's going to cost me a couple extra dollars to support the farmer down the road, I'm going to do that because I think it's good for me and my health. And I think it's good for the farmer and his farm and our local economy. It's all connected. And that's really sort of what I think the Green Party represents, is the fact that everything comes from nature. There are nature-based solutions in the plan. And, we live here, we borrow the space, but we have to give back to it, and we have to respect it, and we have to utilize it in a manner that allows it to continue to be sustainable.
You talked about you have a young son, you have a husband. So talk about when you were obviously approached, or you were thinking about doing this and running, and the thoughts of your husband and getting on board on this.
My husband is very supportive. He knows that when I have an idea in my head that it's going to happen. So best to get on board. My son is 13. He's headed into high school next term there in the fall. My son actually took my picture, that is my profile picture. So it's a really interesting position to be in with a son of that age, because we can have conversations about why it's important to get engaged in your community and civics. And I've been a volunteer for a long time, so he's used to mom going out to to do this or that. And I'm currently a volunteer, and I have a virtual vision mate who I speak with every week. We've been speaking now for 2 years. The initial commitment was 2 months near the beginning of the pandemic. And we've continued on, and actually I'm speaking with her today. Today's my day to speak with her. And yeah, so it's interesting. I like to think that I model the things that I believe in, and I think that I walk the walk. I volunteer. I don't necessarily broadcast it, but I volunteer because it's the right thing to do. I'm a big believer that integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking, and I do think that I embody that.
We're 2 years into the pandemic. How have you and your family survived and continued on, and how are you doing during this time?
So the pandemic's been interesting. My husband and I have been very lucky to have been able to do our jobs remotely, and we've been supported by our organizations and that, which is great. In terms of just sanity and surviving, the answer for us has been outdoors. It's been walking, it's been biking, it's been, visiting Presqu'île, it's been just being outside as much as possible. And even in the winter, like, skiing, tobogganing, just getting outside. It's nice to be home and everything, but you need a change of scenery. And so we've been trying to be as creative as we can about doing things where we feel safe. We're very COVID conscious, and just trying to entertain ourselves.
You talked about this speaking mate, or this talking mate, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit more. How did you get involved in that, and how important it has been? And I don't want you to get into too much details about who you talk with or anything like that, but how important it has been for the other person on the other end as well, that you've started and you've continued this. As you stated, it was only supposed to be a short-term period, but here we are longer now.
So this is an interesting story. I have been a volunteer for Volunteer Information Quinte for over a decade. I've been a choreographer for their main fundraiser, Dancing with the Stars Quinte. YourTV has been a big promoter of that. So I've done that. And then pandemic came, we couldn't do, the proper show as we would normally do. And so through Volunteer Information Quinte, I came across an opportunity to volunteer for CNIB, and it was for a virtual vision mate. So I looked into what that was, and the program is designed to connect people virtually, so by the phone, with people to keep them connected to their communities, to keep them connected outside of their own world. So I was connected with a lovely woman who it's kind of bizarre how well we get on. I will tell you, she is 97 years, and she is one of the quickest people I've ever met in my life. She has an incredible life story, and through our hour-long conversations each week, we've just learned so much about each other, and we've connected so much. And she's been through a lot. She's a very strong woman, interesting woman with an incredible life story. And it's funny, we start every conversation with, and she'll say, "Oh, I don't know what to say," and we have a hard time getting it all in an hour. We just keep chatting, and it's been, we've talked about whether we would continue on. And she has told me that she really enjoys our conversations and she likes us into outside of her world. But I have to say, for me, it's been critical. I really look forward to those hours every week. It allows me to escape what's going on in day to day, and it's been just as beneficial for me as it has been for her.
And what's her reaction been when you told her that you're running, or have you told her yet?
I'm telling her tonight, so I'll let you know.
So we're in the final minutes here. What any closing thoughts? And I'll leave the floor to you as to why someone should vote for you, why a constituent should vote for you during the 2022 provincial election.
I think that people should vote for me because that the Green Party has a real plan with real solutions to old problems that past leadership, current leadership has not been able to step up on. Myself, I'm a very tenacious person and I will fight for things that I believe in, and I will support my community to thrive and be sustainable and be successful. There are a lot of things on the platform that we need to address, and we do need to address them now.
Lisa, I thank you very much for spending the last half hour with me and YourTV here on Your Vote, and best of luck to you. And I'm sure we'll catch up at some point again on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Mark.
You've been watching Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn, and thanks for watching.